Hello dear viewers, my name is Faridin Nouri and I'm a migration consultant in Germany. Today I would like to compare the national ban on deportation and the subsidiary protection in Germany for you in order to find out which one of them is a better protection for asylum seekers in Germany. As I've explained for you in my previous videos, after applying for asylum and giving the interview for this purpose in the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany, this office decides about your asylum application and sends its decision via a special letter to you. This letter is called Anerkennungsbescheid in German language. If you get a positive result for your asylum application, this result can be an asylum protection, which in German it is called Asylanerkennung or Asylberechtigung, a refugee protection, which in German it is called Flüchtlingseigenschaft or Flüchtlingsanerkennung, a subsidiary protection, which in German it is called Subsidiärer Schutz, or it can be a national ban on deportation, which in German it is called Abschiebungsverbot or Abschiebungsschutz. And as I mentioned for you before, in this video I will compare the last two types of protections, which are the subsidiary protection and the national ban on deportation, with each other. After getting one of these types of protections, you can refer to your foreigner's office, which in German it is called Ausländerbehörde, with the result of your asylum application and apply for an electronic residence permit in this office. It is worth mentioning that in some cities of Germany, Landesamt or Landratsamt is doing the work of the foreigner's office. In this case, you can refer to one of these offices and apply for an electronic residence permit there. If you get a national ban on deportation from the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany and refer to your respective foreigner's office and apply for an electronic residence permit in this office will issue for you an electronic residence permit based on Section 25, subsection 3 of the Residence Act of Germany. And if you get a subsidiary protection from the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany and refer to your respective foreigner's office and apply for an electronic residence permit in this office will issue for you an electronic residence permit based on Section 25, subsection 2, second alternative of sentence 1 of the Residence Act of Germany. Now I would like to explain for you what the difference is between a national ban on deportation and a subsidiary protection are. First, on the basis of their types. In fact, a national ban on deportation is given to the asylum seekers either based on Section 60, subsection 5 or Section 60, subsection 7 of the Residence Act of Germany. A protection based on Section 60, subsection 5 of the Residence Act of Germany is given to those asylum seekers whose rights, according to the European Human Rights Convention, are at risk of violation. This convention particularly emphasizes on the prohibition of inhuman or degrading treatment. And a protection based on Section 60, subsection 7 of the Residence Act of Germany is given to those asylum seekers whose lives or freedoms are threatened with a significant concrete danger in their country of origin. For example, if a person in case of a deportation is threatened with significant health risks, he or she may get a national ban on deportation. However, this only applies to life-threatening or serious illnesses that threaten to get worse seriously as a result of a deportation, and if there is not the possibility to treat the person in his or her country of origin. And as I mentioned for you before, in both these cases, the asylum seeker gets an electronic residence permit based on Section 25, subsection 3 of the Residence Act of Germany. In contrast, a subsidiary protection is given to the asylum seekers based on a European Union Qualification Directive, which in German means EU Qualifikationsrichtlinie. Therefore, this type of protection is also called an international protection. It is worth mentioning that the conditions for giving a subsidiary protection to the asylum seekers are also mentioned in Section 4, subsection 1 of the Asylum Act of Germany. The asylum seekers get a subsidiary protection when they can neither get a refugee protection nor an entitlement to asylum, and they are threatened with a serious harm in their country of origin. People are entitled to subsidiary protection who have substantial reasons about the fact that they are at risk of serious harm in their country of origin and that they cannot take up the protection of their country of origin or do not wish to take it up because of that threat. The serious harm can originate from both governmental and non-governmental players. The serious harm can be, for example, the imposition or enforcement of the death penalty, torture, or inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, or a serious individual threat to the life or integrity of a civilian as a result of arbitrary force within an international or domestic armed conflict. And as I mentioned for you before, the asylum seeker who gets such a protection from the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany and applies for an electronic residence permit in his respective foreigner's office, he gets an electronic residence permit based on Section 25, subsection 2, second alternative of sentence 1 of the Residence Act of Germany. Second, on the basis of the period of validity of their residence cards. The electronic residence permit the asylum seeker gets from its respective foreigner's office based on its national ban on deportation in Germany can be valid from 1 to 3 years. It means that his respective foreigner's office has the authority to issue for him an electronic residence permit which is valid for 1 year, for 2 years, or for 3 years. In contrast, the foreigners' offices in Germany usually issue for the holders of subsidiary protection for the first time after getting this type of a protection an electronic residence permit which is valid for 1 year, and then it will be extended for 2 years. Third, on the basis of possibility of extension of their residence cards. If the asylum seeker has got his electronic residence permit based on a national ban on deportation according to Section 60, subsection 5 of the Residence Act of Germany, some weeks before its expiration, he can apply for its extension in his respective foreigner's office, and based on his application, his electronic residence permit will be extended by this office. However, in case the asylum seeker has got his electronic residence permit based on a national ban on deportation according to Section 60, subsection 7 of the Residence Act of Germany, for example, based on his serious sickness, when he applies for the extension of his electronic residence permit in his respective foreigner's office, some weeks before its expiration, this office checks whether his health has recovered or not. In case he has not recovered yet, his electronic residence permit will be extended. But if he has already recovered, his electronic residence permit will unfortunately not be extended. In contrast, those who have got their electronic residence permit based on a subsidiary protection in Germany, some weeks before the expiration of their electronic residence permit, they can apply for its extension in their respective foreigner's office, and this office usually extends it for them. However, generally said, regardless of the type of the protection you have got in Germany from the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany, if the reasons based on which you have got the type of protection no longer exists, you will possibly lose your protection and your residence permit in Germany. For example, if you have got a subsidiary protection in Germany because of the current war in your country of origin, later if the war ends in your country of origin and there is peace and security in your country, the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees of Germany may reevaluate the reasons for your protection in Germany and may revoke and withdraw your protection. So, those who want to permanently stay in Germany, I would recommend that they should try to complete the requirements for a German citizenship in this country and get it as soon as possible. Fourth, on the basis of having the permission to work with their residence cards. The electronic residence card you get based on a national ban on deportation in Germany, it is either written on it that Erwerbstätigkeit gestattet or Beschäftigung gestattet, or it is nothing written on it. If on your residence card it is written that Erwerbstätigkeit gestattet. In this case, you're allowed to work both as an employee or as a self-employed individual in Germany. However, if on your residence card it is written that Beschäftigung gestattet, in this case, you're only allowed to work as an employee and you're not allowed to work as a self-employed individual in Germany. And if on your residence card it is nothing written about your work, neither Erwerbstätigkeit gestattet nor Beschäftigung gestattet, in this case, you're neither allowed to work as an employee nor as a self-employed individual in this country. In this case, if you want to get the permission to work as an employee or as a self-employed individual, you can refer to your respective foreigner's office for it and apply for it. In contrast, the electronic residence card you get based on a subsidiary protection in Germany, you are allowed to work with it both as an employee and as a self-employed individual in this country. Fifth, on the basis of getting German citizenship and German passport with their residence cards. With an electronic residence card you have got based on a national ban on deportation in Germany, you cannot directly get the German citizenship and German passport. With this type of a residence card, you have to first complete the requirements for the permanent residence card in Germany and get it, and after that, with a permanent residence card, you can then apply for a German citizenship and German passport and get them, of course, after completing their requirements. It is worth mentioning that I've explained about the requirements for a permanent residence permit with a national ban on deportation in Germany in a different video in my YouTube channel. I'll put its link under this video in the description part of it for you. In contrast, with an electronic residence permit you have got based on a subsidiary protection in Germany, you can apply for and get the German citizenship and German passport directly after completing their requirements. And sixth, on the basis of family reunification with their residence cards. With the residence card you get based on a national ban on deportation, you can only bring your core family members via a family reunification based on humanitarian reasons and under very difficult conditions to Germany. Therefore, if you've got a national ban on deportation and you want to bring your core family members via a family reunification to Germany, you should try to first get a permanent residence permit of Germany and then bring them under easier conditions to this country. It is worth mentioning that I've explained about the family reunification with the national ban on deportation with all its details in a different video in my YouTube channel. I'll put its link under this video in its description part for you. In contrast, if you've got an electronic residence card based on a subsidiary protection in Germany and you have married before fleeing your country of origin, the conditions for bringing your core family members are easier. However, if you have married after fleeing your country of origin and you've got a subsidiary protection in Germany, you can only bring your core family members via a family reunification under some exceptional conditions to Germany. And in such a case, for the holders of a subsidiary protection, it is also recommendable to first get a permanent residence permit of Germany and then to bring their core family members via family reunification under easier conditions to Germany. It is worth mentioning that I've explained about the family reunification with the subsidiary protection with all its details in another video in my YouTube channel. And I will put its link under this video in its description part for you. At the end, I would like to say that there might be some more differences between these two types of protections in Germany, which I currently do not remember. If you know about the other differences between these two, you can write them under this video for us. So, considering all the points I mentioned for you in this video, I can say that a subsidiary protection has some more privileges than a national ban on deportation. Therefore, it is a better protection than a national ban on deportation in Germany. Thanks a lot for watching my video. If you would like to get similar important information about the immigration laws in Germany, your rights and duties in German society, the living conditions in Germany, and other such important topics, please subscribe and follow our channel. If you have any questions or remarks about today's topic, you can write it under this video and I will be more than happy to answer it for you.